I recorded this a year ago, but I got this packet in the mail. It's something I purchased. It was the Barbie apron, the Barbie babysits apron. That's why I got it. It was the first one I'd ever had. It also came with a couple pairs of vintage Ken shoes, and I was happy. I'm always happy to get those. I like that old-fashioned style for my Ken dolls more than anything. These are definitely 70s. Loaferish things, but the apron itself was in really good shape. There was no stains. The pockets were not ripping or pulling apart, and the hem was all nice, even, at the edges they weren't frayed. I mean, there was a little bit of string loose, but nothing I have to sew. The waist is really nice. Everything was in good shape. This is a really nice apron. I usually don't buy individual clothes, but this is the Barbie pack, and it came with the baby in a bassinet with a liner that had pink and blue flowers with a lace trim. It had the pillow, it had the blanket with lace trim, sunglasses, books, big giant phone, a clock, baby bottle, a Coke bottle, and a box of pretzels and a belt. And most of the time, the belt is displayed holding the books together. So I had a bassinet in my stash that I really thought was very similar. I think it comes from something new. And I also just happen to have this material with pink and blue flowers that, again, if you look, it's very, very similar. This looks like it has a pink background, whereas mine is white. So I first cut an oval. I traced the bassinet on the material to do that. Then I cut a strip that was about the length, and I gave it a 1/4 inch hem on everything. And then put the strip around, I pinned it around to the oval on the bottom and put it in my machine to sew. So now I'm sewing the side piece, the side strip, onto that bottom oval. And remember, you have to face good side to good side, and you're not getting like your normal bended over hem. Everything is gonna sit down in that thing like a cup. So that's what I'm doing here. And what I do is I stop and start. And I don't know if this is right. I'm not a trained seamstress, but I found for me that I make a lot less mistakes if I keep stopping. So I just run a little through, and you'll see me pick up the feet there. You can pick up the feet as long as your needle is down. And when you're doing round things, you have to do that a lot. So you keep it down, and then you can pick up the foot and twist your fabric any way you want to. You can rotate it on that needle, and it doesn't get out of step. So a lot of times when I'm doing anything circular, I'll do that. After I sewed that together, then I sewed the lace around the edge, and here's where I made my mistake. I measured it exactly instead of giving leeway, so when you bend it over the bassinet, it would spread. Mine was too tight. So you want to do your lace a little bit longer than the edge. See, I can't get it to go all the way over. And I'm not quite sure how to do that right. I don't know. But I still think it fits pretty well. I put Barbie in my garden party dress because I thought it went really well with the apron. I think it's a good color, almost a perfect match. I put it on a traditional vintage ponytail Barbie. And then to make the little robe that the baby's wearing. Now in Barbie's thing, it's a lighter, very light blue with a pink ribbon around the edge. So I just laid the doll on the material and traced around the arms, and then traced down the length that I would need it to be. Doubled my fabric over and cut that out. I forgot to record that. So here I am sewing it up. I made hems on the sleeves and the trim around the bottom first, and then sewed the inseam under the arm. Turned it backside out, and for me, I'm sure there's a much better way to do this, but I'm doing this by hand because it's so tiny, and it's very hard for me to do this kind of stuff, and my machine just eats it up and knots up. So I'm sewing this ribbon to the edge. I know it's a darker pink than came with Barbie Babysits, but it's the only one I had that was this tiny. So I'm using the dark pink. And what I'm doing is putting my needle back in very, very close to where it originally came out, so that you don't see a lot of thread on the outside. And on the inside, I will move over more with my next stitch because I don't care what you see on the inside. I tried to make the diaper by what it looked like on the Barbie babysits picture, and this did not work well. This was terrible. So it turns out this is the shape you need, just like a pamper. I don't know why I didn't think of that to begin with. So my diaper is just crap. It doesn't look good at all. So I'm glad I have the robe to put over top of it so you don't see it as well. Yeah, I didn't do a very good job on the diaper. But anyway, I like the robe. I think the robe came out really nice. So I put the blanket on, and I happen to have a baby bottle that's exactly like the one from Barbie Babysits. I had it as it's from a childhood. That's an old prop that I've had for a long time. I did try to make other blankets. I thought this would be cute because of the pattern on it, and I stuffed it, and it's just too stiff. This one, I like how it came out, but it was, again, too stiff. It wasn't realistic, so I went with the same thing I made the robe with, and it's just a baby washcloth, which makes it nice and thin, and put the lace around the edge. So now baby's all put together, and I'm going to start, and I did go over some extra pillows. I'm going to show you some of my mistakes. And I ended up not putting any stuffing in this. This was the trick to really make it look like the one in the Barbie pack. It was just a really thin, tiny little pillow, and the trick was not to stuff it. So this is how the blanket came out in the end. I really like it. Okay, I didn't have the big honkin' telephone that it came with, but I did have a vintage Barbie telephone that somebody restrung later. That's why the string is so extra long, and that's what I plan to use in my pack because I didn't even know where to find that phone. So here, unless I bought a whole Barbie pack on eBay, which I didn't want to do. The point was I was making my own stuff. I'm using a cereal box to make the clock and the pretzel box. So I have a Ken and Barbie clock. I have a few of those. So I use those to kind of gauge the size of the circle I want, and I cut out several of them. And I'm just going to glue them together by glue stick and till I get the thickness that I think the clock should be. And don't worry if your circles are not perfect. It doesn't matter because you can just sand the cardboard. It actually works really well. So I'm sanding it here. I'm going to show you how smooth it gets. So it's nice and even, but then see the bumps that I have to still sand right there. So you can just keep going around and sand all those edges off. I took an earring hoop or earring thing and cut it and bent it with pliers to make the loop on the top of the clock, the handle, I guess, thing. And then I took earring backings for the feet, and then a small button. This is a pearlized button. And you can see it's solid on one side, so that's going to be my bell on top. And I just glued the feet on, and I painted it black and glued the button and the loop, and then I painted those gold, and I printed a clock and, you know, cut it down to the right size in Photoshop and pasted that on, and I feel like the clock came out really nice. Okay, so I had to make this printable. I made a box, and I just made it out of squares and rectangles. You just keep drawing them and putting them together. And then I found color. I filled it in with the colors. I went online and got pictures of pretzels, and I took Annie's name out and put my name in. So these are Julie's pretzels, but I did steal the artwork from Annie. Once again, I'm going to use the cereal box. And the first, I made two. So I made one box where I just put tape on the paper, and I cut that out and put the box together with just taped paper, right? The tape is to give it a shiny edge to make it more durable. Then I did another one on the cardstock and glued it to the cardstock, and then put the tape on and cut it out to make a sturdier box. I also did the same thing for the book. I didn't put it on cardboard, but what I did was taped it. So I put tape, I printed 3 books. I put my own picture on the back, as you can see, as the author. And I copied the titles that Barbie had: How to Travel, How to Ask for a Raise, and How to Lose Weight. Here is the paper version of the pretzel box that I'm gluing together with a glue stick. And I'm not pushing real hard because it's paper. I don't want it to collapse, even though I've taped it, so it's a tad bit sturdier. Then I took a bunch of papers and accordion folded them and cut the edges so that they'd be single. Glued the ends and then glued the cover that I made and placed them in it. And then I just put a clip. And I left those like overnight so that they would really be flat with the clip on till they fully dried and stayed shut, because the accordion pages just kept wanting to open it up. I did that for all 3 books. I made different sizes as well. I wasn't sure what size to make them. Actually. All right, here's the cardboard I cut out with my template. And now I'm going to glue the printout on top of it that I have already put the tape on and cut out so it has the shiny side. And at first I was folding this. Making the folds is really hard. And you can score this, which I probably should have done first, down the back once you put the cardboard on. I was trying to bend it around anything. But it turns out that the best way to do this for me was to take a ruler I have with a metal edge to it, and it's got like a sharp metal edge sorta, and I folded it around that. So here's my collection. I put them all in the baby room. I have a few older babies in there too, but Barbie is babysitting. There she is with her Coke. Oh, for the Coke bottle, I had this like generic orange bottle, and I took a burgundy nail polish and painted it, and it looks just like a Coke bottle to me. And there's the books with the belt around them on the dresser. There's baby in the crib with his bottle, the telephone, and my Julie's pretzels and my clock that I love so much. And the sunglasses, they're exactly the same, and I got them from Mini Fashion Purses. So they turned out, that was easy. Didn't have to make those. So there's my Barbie Babysits pack. And since then, a year later, I found the telephone. I still think it's honking big for Barbie, but it is the telephone, and I'm glad to have the one that came with it. And that's the bottom of it. It has like little feet on the bottom. I thought you might want to see that. I guess the string had broke at some time and they tied it back together. So that's it.